Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new. My name is Alyssa, and today I want to do a video on how I invest and save my money as a 28-year-old millennial living in New York City. In case you're wondering some of my goals, I would love to retire at 55, and that is a very aggressive goal for someone with a job and a salary like mine, but it is something that I really hope to achieve, and I want to share with you guys how I plan on getting there. I do have a moderate risk portfolio based on my age. I'm young, so I can take a little bit more risk than if I was older, as well as I do have some inherited investments that have helped me push to be more of a moderate risk. Before I definitely was a very low risk portfolio, but because I have some security on my back, I felt better about updating my portfolio and start to invest a little bit more aggressively. I want to start first with my strategy on savings. Now, my strategy for savings has always been save 6 months worth of your salary and have that in the bank. Now, for me, I've accumulated over time, as you make more in jobs, as your salary goes up, you're gonna start saving more. So I have about $50,000 in my savings account, and that was kind of when I hit my peak. For me, that is plenty of money in my savings account. I don't plan on buying a home. I don't plan on buying a car or any of those large investment items that I would be needing a large sum of savings for. Because of that, that is where I've capped my savings off, and for now, I am solely investing. I'm capping my savings account at the $50,000 because the interest rate is so low on my savings account, and even with a high yield savings account or a CD, there's still such a low amount of interest that I can make off of it. And based on my moderate risk profile, I'm more comfortable with making money contributions towards investments rather than putting it in a savings account and letting it grow at a very slow rate. To give you an idea, a savings account, even a high yield savings account, can get you about 1 to 2% in interest. Whereas with investments, with ETFs, with stocks, you can see upwards of 10, 20, 30% increase with your money over time. So because I have a moderate risk profile, I am okay with putting my money towards investments versus savings account so that I can get a higher return. Speaking of returns, I am investing majority of my funds into ETFs. So what I love about ETFs is it has a very low barrier to entry, similar to stocks. Anyone can purchase them, and there's a lot of great apps that you can use to get into ETFs, to get into stocks. I love Stash, and that is what I've been using for over a year now. It's very user-friendly, the interface is very clean and easy to navigate, and it also has a bunch of different resources for any of you that don't know much about ETFs or don't know much about trading and you want to learn more. They have very easy to follow guides. They offer suggestions and recommendations based on your risk profile. And it's just been very easy for someone like me who didn't know much about ETFs or stocks to learn and get more involved with what they have to offer. What I like the most about ETFs is that it's probably a middle risk group compared to a stock. So an ETF is essentially a bunch of different companies put into one group, and you get a percentage of that group, whereas a stock is a single company. So it's got a lot of higher risk, but it's also got a much higher reward. For example, if a company goes public, if a company gets bought out, you're gonna reap those benefits very hard, whereas in an ETF, you're gonna see a return that's much smaller because it's a group of companies. So for me, I'm not a super high risk person, and I haven't dabbled too much into the stock world. The ETF world is perfect for me. What I also like about ETFs versus mutual funds is that they have very low fees. So I don't have to worry about getting charged an arm and a leg dealing with fees if I want to trade, if I want to sell, if I want to buy. And that's something that was very important for me as well. On a monthly average, I'm adding about $800 to my ETFs, but each month is different. So I at least do a minimum of $800, but most months it's around $1,500. The way I have Stash set up is that it automatically pulls money out of my checking account once I am paid, and from there it auto invests it into the designated ETFs that I've chosen. So I have designated ETFs that I want them to be invested into, along with a dollar amount that goes into each. Aside, I also have money that gets pulled and put into my personal portfolio for me to invest in ETFs on my own. So I can choose ones that I'm currently investing in and up that investment for the month, or I can see some new ones based on the recommendation from my profile from Stash and then make some decisions there. Overall, I've seen about a 12% increase year over year on my investments in Stash, so I'm going to continue to use it. The next thing I want to talk about is my 401k, IRAs, and I do have a company 401k match. It's about 3%, and I do take that match fully. Now, because of some other things I'm going to mention further on, I have some inherited IRA as well as brokerage accounts. I'm not contributing any more than the matched 3% because the rest is going into my pocket. That was something that was solely a decision based on the other investments that I had, and at the time it hasn't done me any wrong. I also have a traditional IRA that I'm contributing the max to each year, and that helps with tax deductions. The last thing I will touch on is my inherited IRA and brokerage accounts. For those of you who don't know, and I'll touch on it very briefly, is that my mom passed away 4 years ago and left me with her stocks or mutual funds, her IRA. With that, I do have a decent head start against others that are my age, and because of that, I can invest more aggressively. I also do not have to worry about saving additional amounts for potential, big purchases that I may have. And it has definitely helped me in my investments. But I want to make one thing clear, that no money can ever replace anyone in your life. And if anyone was to ask me which I would take, I would definitely say I would rather have my mother here with me today than taking any sort of investments or having any sort of capital gain. That is an absolute no-brainer. So with those, every year I do have to take out a certain amount, because with her passing, it does mean that her IRA needs to be taken out and taxed on each year. So with that money, I put into a mutual fund, and then I usually end up putting that into my IRA afterwards. So I hope this was helpful for all of you out there who are looking for just some ideas on what to do with your money. And all I can say is that if you want to retire at 55 like me and literally have your money working for you while you sleep, I highly recommend starting to invest now rather than later. I will say that I was a bit of a late bloomer. I didn't start investing until 27, and I really wish I did it sooner. My parents never really educated me on it. I never read up on it much, and I do think it's because the financial world does seem very male dominant. It also seems very intimidating for someone like me who doesn't know the terms, who doesn't read up on financial news, who's never really been in a situation where I've needed to know financial news or needed to be aware of it. And now that I know what I know, I regret not knowing it sooner and doing something sooner, because let's say you do have, $1,000 and it grows 10% every year. If you multiply that 5 years, 10 years even, your money is working for you without you having to touch it. So pretty genius and pretty awesome if you have the money to spare. Let me know if you like this video. Please give me a like down below, as well as subscribing. I know this is a little bit of a different video than what I usually do on my channel, but it is something I am so passionate about and something I really wish I knew more about when I started. I'll also leave some resource guides for ETFs as well as Stash down below, so you can take a look. There's obviously tons of apps out there that you can use, but I just really like Stash. So I'm gonna leave that below along with my refer code, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.